Welcome. My name is Christopher Peter. The last few weeks have been very interesting watching the New York Giants fanbase. They have really been on a roller coaster of emotions. 3 weeks ago, they enjoyed their biggest win in years against the Philadelphia Eagles at home. You would have thought they won the Super Bowl. Their fans were loud and proud, much more than a fan base of a team that was still in last place should have been. But to the victors go the spoils. They felt that the team was heading in the right direction. Then they play good for 3 quarters and have their hearts ripped out by a Denver team that is equal parts resilient as they are talented. When is the last time you saw a team up 3 scores and lose the games by giving up 30-plus points in the fourth quarter? Very humbling. The following week, the Giants gave up a 65-yard touchdown on the first snap of the game for my Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles pounded them the rest of the game, beating them by a larger margin than their loss a few weeks earlier. The Giants fans and the New York sports media market then did what last-place teams do. They complain about the officiating and act like the game was rigged. Yes, there were some bad calls, but there were also some egregious bad calls in the first matchup. That is football. The Philadelphia Eagles looked like the team of last year for a complete game. For the first time this season, beating the Giants is not a big win. Their biggest win was definitely going into Arrowhead and winning against Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Kansas City Chiefs. The offense looked good throughout the game. It was not predictable and the run game was fantastic. 2 players went over 100 yards. And Jalen played well again. All this without our top wide receiver. The Eagles' defense was great. A much different outlook when Jalen Carter is in the lineup. And it was another game where every lineman seemed to get a sack on the young star rookie quarterback. Our corners played well throughout with little room for Dart to fit throws into. A good bounce-back performance, although it came against a now 2-6 team with many offensive and defensive players out. And hopefully Cam Skattebo heals fast from that horrific-looking injury and comes back with the same intensity he demonstrated this season. Great way to enter the bye.
I think New York Giants fans just are showing the New York culture to a T to some degree. They cannot accept responsibility for their outcomes. It is always somebody else's fault and not the fact that their team played bad across the board. The few times they won this year, they project those fleeting victories as a massive foreshadowing of a Super Bowl run, and every loss is because the league is rigged. How about some accountability? But losing their promising running back is a legitimate emotional shock that could have impacted them the rest of the game. Hopefully he recovers quickly and heals completely. Now, let us talk about what happened elsewhere in a week that was filled with non-competitive games. Apparently the Jets played the only competitive game this weekend. The weekend was filled with a bunch of lopsided games. In probably the most unlikely game to be close, the New York Jets finally got a win under Aaron Glenn against the Cincinnati Bengals in Ohio. Not like the Bengals are currently contenders, but a home game against the league's last winless team did not give anyone a sense of probable victory for the Jets. Especially after the performance they had against the Steelers. They shocked the world who thought that game would be an easy Steelers victory. But the Bengals let the Jets remain close and it bit them in the behind when the Jets scored late and played defense at the end of the game. But congratulations to Justin Fields and Aaron Glenn. The week opened with Carson Wentz's last game of the 2025 season. And the Chargers sent him off with a game full of many pressures, sacks, and quarterback hits. The Vikings did not stand a chance because their offensive line did not give their offense a chance to let any play develop. Pass rushers ripped through them like a hot knife through butter. Now, the Vikings will have no choice but to put J.J. McCarthy back in action and hope he can make it the rest of the way. A top 10 draft pick who missed a significant number of games to start his career due to injury. He definitely has shown an upside. But availability may be a legitimate concern. How about them Cowboys? The Dallas Cowboys went into Denver and caught the residual beatdown that the Broncos had left following their fourth-quarter comeback against the Giants. The Cowboys continue the trend of struggling on the road. And eventually pulled Doc at the end of the game when it was out of reach. Joe Milton showed Cowboys fans the highlight throws he showed in New England, connecting for a late score. But the Broncos just had their way with them throughout the game. The team showed they are more than one player away from contention. And fans seem to be growing tired of their defensive coordinator. The Bills came out of their bye with passion and destroyed the Panthers. They had their own 2-game losing streak, but they obviously found a way to get back on track against the Carolina Panthers, who have shown some progress in their own rebuild. The Bills keep close in second to the New England Patriots. The Patriots easily dismantled the Browns to maintain their division lead over the Buffalo Bills. The Patriots have turned their franchise around by drafting Drake May and bringing in Mike Vrabel. The Browns brought in almost every quarterback this offseason. And it might as well be time for them to see what their fifth-round pick has. Myles Garrett seems to be having contract dissonance. The Ravens got back on the winning path with their victory over the Bears. Playing again without Lamar Jackson, the Ravens ended their skid against the Bears, who were on a 4-game winning streak. With the Steelers losing, it is not crazy to think the Ravens can still overtake them. The Steelers do not play defense. Yes, another game Chris picked the wrong team. The Steelers played a good first half and the rest they would like to forget. Jordan Love completed 20 straight passes and the Packers played great to run away from the Steelers despite being down early. The Steelers once prided themselves in their defensive play. But not this season. They spent more to get less. The Dolphins finally got their second win, and maybe now the team emo can try to salvage whatever is left of their season. They have by far been the most depressing team to watch on the field and in press conferences. For a while, it seemed like coaches and players were ready to throw in the towel. But beating the Falcons in Atlanta is no small feat. The Texans found a way to beat the visiting 49ers. As DeMeco Ryans faced off against his former boss, the Niners are still very depleted with so many players on injured reserve. Something that happens all too often for them. But they keep winning. The Texans were able to right the ship a bit after a horrible start to the season. The Bucs had an easy win in the Big Easy. I am not sure that Kellen Moore made the right career decision. But there are only 32 head coaching opportunities. Maybe he should have pulled a Ben Johnson and waited for the right opportunity. Seems like they are an easy victory for everyone except the Giants. The Colts continue to win, but their schedule is fairly easy. The Titans, a divisional opponent, already relieved their head coach of his duties and continues to struggle with the first overall pick in Cam Ward adjusting to the National Football League. The Colts seem like a legit contender, but still waiting for that big win. The Chiefs are all the way back. Or at least look that way against a depleted Washington Commanders team. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce look like they were teleported into the future from a couple years ago. The Chiefs look like their former selves, and it cannot be a good sign for their division and fellow conference foes. So, fans will continue to complain about the officiating, as every week it seems like there are questionable calls. Over the course of the season, it seems to balance out. Understandably, the controversial calls may cost a team a playoff spot or draft position. Let's do better, refs.
The weekend of blowouts was not ideal, but it is a reality in sports. Picking games for this past weekend was hard because it seemed like every game had the potential to be a blowout, and that is exactly what happened. But next week could be the complete opposite. Matchups matter, and style of play contributes a great deal to the outcome of games. A team lacking confidence was not going to bode well facing a team riding a big win from the prior week. People say momentum does not exist, but sustainable confidence may be exactly that. The one trend that I am seeing is that teams need to play 4 quarters. And teams must really be decisive at the most important positions on their team. And teams that have holistic views on roster building are the ones that are standing tall. Teams that tried to solve their quarterback problem through volume find that they have none amongst the bunch. Teams that placed all their eggs in the basket of one free agent acquisition seem to be severely flawed in other critical areas. The Steelers are my second favorite team, and I like the addition of Aaron Rodgers, who is playing pretty good. But where is the Steeler defense that we have known for quite some time? They cannot stop anything right now, giving up 30-point games while struggling to score in the 20s. The Ravens tried to protect their season with having a veteran backup in Cooper Rush, but sometimes players do well in certain moments that cannot be recreated in other cities and teams. They are severely impacted by the loss of Lamar Jackson and the key injured defensive players. The Niners have an art of playing well with backups because they frequently have to play their backups. If you sign in San Francisco, you are probably going to play at some point regardless of the depth chart because they play an aggressive style of football. If I was a Vikings fan, I would be very concerned that we drafted a quarterback that will have his career derailed by health. I hope McCarthy is able to return and stay on the field, but he has missed a lot of games. It cannot be easy seeing Sam Darnold playing well in Seattle. It will be interesting to see what the New York Giants do with their head coach and general manager. Jackson Dart has shown he may be a franchise quarterback, but it is way too early. They have a running back that has great potential if he returns healthy. Solid defense line, but may never see their full potential unless some sort of change is made. I am hoping the Colts are legit and do not have a second half of the season slide or something like that, where it appears like they were overrated or had a favorable schedule. They did have a favorable schedule, but they won their games convincingly. See if they can sustain their level of play, especially in 3 weeks at Arrowhead against the Chiefs. The Chiefs look like they found their spark. It was not because of injury that they were depleted, but also criminal behavior. He paid his price for his actions and seemed to have learned from it, but let us not pretend it was an injury. People make mistakes and we should be honest about it. Luckily, no one got directly hurt, including him. While so many people are falling in love with the Packers and they clearly own the hype train, the Detroit Lions hopefully are just using this cover to continue to build. They were the hype team last season, even during the Eagles' win streak. They finished as the top seed, but did not win a playoff game. Let the Packers get the media glory and fanfare, just focusing on getting better. Hopefully they find a way to be the last team out of the North. I would not mind them making it to the NFC Championship game and hopefully losing to my Eagles in it, but it is clear that the media train left them and went a bit south. Now, let us look forward to next week. I truly hate to say this, but Week 9 looks like it could be a repeat of Week 8. Many unbalanced matchups, but any given Sunday is the mantra in the National Football League. The best matchup could be the Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Buffalo to face the Bills, as they seem to do every year. The Chiefs seem to lose the regular season matchup and then win the playoff game to reverse course. Seems to be the same script every year. But I do not think the Chiefs will lose this time around. The Bills' defense has been somewhat underwhelming this season. So maybe this year it may be a different outcome in Buffalo. I will take the Kansas City Chiefs to win on the road in Orchard Park. Seattle will visit the nation's capital to take on the Commanders, with potentially Jaden Daniels making his return as starting quarterback. If that is the case, then the Commanders may have a fighting chance. If not, then it may be more of the same. I am not confident the Commanders will be able to change course. The Seattle Seahawks are my pick to win this week. The Colts face the Steelers this week on the road, and the Steelers have lost 2 in a row. Not a great spot to be in when facing the team with the best record. But we have to figure that out at some point. Mike Tomlin will end the losing streak, and maybe a shocking upset can spark a turnaround. I will go with the Steelers. This could be one of those road games that the Colts do not play well in. The Denver Broncos have been playing good football this season, and the Houston Texans have been somewhat disappointing to some degree. But the Texans are still very talented. The Broncos will have to go on the road and will most likely win their 4th straight game. I will pick the Broncos to win. Finally, the Patriots host the pesky Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons have been Jekyll and Hyde this season. They dominate the Bills, essentially knocking them to second place. But the loss to the Dolphins, they definitely have talent but lack consistency. Still, going into a confident Foxborough may be too much for the Falcons. I picked the Patriots to win at home. In the last 2 weeks, I have been 3-2. So, turning the corner, a slight bit over 500 so far. 21, 18-1. But let us turn it back to Jennifer to close out this episode. See you later for another episode.
We are essentially halfway through the season. In the AFC, you have the Kansas City Chiefs, because of their experience, the Buffalo Bills, and the Indianapolis Colts as the main contenders at this point. That does not mean any of the 3 will win the conference. But the Chiefs look like they are back, the Bills are playing overall great, and the Colts continue to dominate. On the NFC side, our Philadelphia Eagles, the Detroit Lions, and the Green Bay Packers may be the top 3. The Eagles look like they are fully back. The Lions are back to being explosive. The Packers have the potential to reach the big game. Cannot rule out the Rams or Bucks if they regain full health. Experience does matter in my opinion, which the Chiefs have that championship DNA that sports pundits like to talk about. And the Eagles have that currently. Both teams I think can weather storms without having to be the top seed with every game at home. The Colts are a bit green and the Packers are talented but a bit inconsistent. I think at times we want things that appear new, but may be fleeting. We are drawn to things that look different. Sometimes those innovative approaches are sustainable and able to become the new standard. Other times they are a blip in the timeline of sports. The tried and true can be a solid foundation to build your hopes on. But we are only halfway. Thank you for experiencing this episode of the Christopher Peter Podcast, part of the Christopher Peter Review. Your viewership is appreciated and valued. Please follow the Christopher Peter Review on social media and continue to visit www.crcreview.com for new episodes of the Christopher Peter Podcast and the CRC. Thank you once again. Until next time.